Welcome to the channel, guys. This is Reliable Rudy. Before we go into any analysis, we have four title names. None of them I'm really considering too much of a day trade. If I was, I would say NVAX. We started it yesterday and actually have one add to the name today. I'm looking at it more as a swing trade. Um, But before we go further into that, you guys know I am not a licensed financial advisor. Everything in this live stream is me simply sharing my opinion, trying to give you guys some entertainment, doing what I love to do, and trying to make some money in the process. I hope that is made clear. I'm just a guy. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. I take losing trades from time to time. I take winning trades from time to time. That's part of the game. It's part of the risk reward and part of the investing strategy and trading strategy, both different, that I choose to go about. But I hope it's made clear that I'm just a guy here, and I'm definitely not perfect. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, the title names. We will start with DFS. Kind of a mixed bag for stocks for today. Tech. I mean, the elephant of the room is look at these tech names just getting. And guys, we've been talking about this Nasdaq short. I know I said I was going to talk about Discover. We've been talking about this Nasdaq short every single day for for half a month. Even longer than a month. We've talked about how, the numbers do not add up for the valuation of the market that we were in. It just didn't. It just didn't. And, I'm a numbers guy. I loved math when I was growing up. They just don't add up. Does that mean that these are bad investments for the long term? No. I mean, Apple's a great fundamental name. My personal opinion with Tesla is that it is extremely overvalued. But Microsoft, great name. Amazon, a lot of capital expenditures reinvesting into their business and a clear competitive advantage with what they do, trying to get into every space that they can. Meta, great margins, buying back shares still. Uh, it's just when stuff rips like it has. I mean, it's almost common sense, I would say, that there's going to be profit taking at some point. Nvidia, maybe Nvidia rules the world one day. And I seen somebody increase their price target up to a double up by next year. I was just like, what? What? I couldn't believe what I was looking at. But maybe they do. I really don't know. It's just not my cup of tea. I will be patient for when I feel maybe there's a couple earnings reports down the road where I look at an earnings report, I'm like, yeah, maybe they are worth that. But I mean, these tech names clearly getting hit down today, and then even looking at the tech names for myself, Baba, Enphase is a technology name. They're in that solar sector. But I mean, if I was gonna compare a name to these stocks up here, I'd say Baba is that name. But even Baba, really hasn't caught a bid like some of these other names. And I'm not giving you a pitch. But I would say down here in these middle 80s, dating back to the last earnings report, the average shares that the company themselves was using for their buybacks was around that 88 to 89. I'd say when the price is underneath that, as an investor, I would say I think that the company is going to be buying back some shares. Whether they do, whether they don't, I don't know. But more into the title name. Sorry to get distracted there, guys. Strength for Discover, slightly green. Just not there yet. It's not there yet. I'm telling you right now, the bottom is not in. If you are looking at this and saying, "Oh, yep, this wick bottom right here, bottom's in," I would say probably not. Probably not in. But I still look at it as a fairly priced equity name that I want to hold for the long term. Yes, there are some short-term headwinds, I'm not denying that. Yes, there's a lot of red volume coming in. Yesterday was a green day. It gaps up, doesn't have the weakness to pull back, and now trying to hold a green candle. Well, these EMAs coming on in. Is there somebody that's looking to really punish this name down? Where I'd say my downside risk, I'm looking for these lower 80s. So everything that I've bought up to this point, I'm already telling myself that. At my downside risk, I'm looking at a legitimate even from this wick low right here, I'm looking at a legitimate 8.5% downside risk, and I'm gonna be okay holding it through that. Uh, and it's up to you guys at the end of the day to do your own due diligence and figure out how you want to invest. And maybe with the Nasdaq short being so strong, even gapping up over top of this tight channel, the tight channel meeting up here did not slow it down. The downtrend did not slow this name down. And if I was looking at short term where you were looking at some sort of trade, it looks like that gap is filled. We're getting closer to this other gap at 2180, and you also have some lows in here. Maybe this, for all I know, could be the top of the move, and we have to pull back into somewhere in the middle of this green move before we catch another bid. I don't know. So maybe trying to look for longs in some of these tech names is the right play. I can't say for certain, but one thing I can tell you is that this nice little volume increase right here, you get your positive break. You guys know I love talking about strength. And, you have a consolidation day, doesn't quite get back to the previous highs, but then breaking the downtrend and yet again, more increased volume coming into the NASDAQ short it can't go unnoticed. And still continue on the day, up 3.25%. The Nasdaq short is very strong. Now I'm not gonna say I'm a genius, but I try to look for when that strength, get that early entry for strength. This was a clear day. We gap up right here. Now I'm not saying this is time to buy, but when we start wick, 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 and we just barely can't fill that gap right there. This is an area where somebody's trying to get filled right there, but the buyers are keeping it above that gap. They're saying, hey, we don't want that gap to get filled. Well, then you get this slight gap up day, indecision candle, and then off to the races from this day. This was my vacation day. When we got that little gap up, and I said, hey, we are not getting back down to this 690 gap, yet alone the 670 gap down here, and then it just off to the races. The whole vacation, I'm sitting here watching the market. I'm like, yeah, this Nasdaq short breaking over this neckline was the first thing I said. Oh, Nasdaq short filled that gap. Oh, Nasdaq short filled this gap. Oh, Nasdaq short's up at this top range. Oh, Nasdaq short's up at the downtrend. Oh, Nasdaq short's break. You guys get the point. Each time it was like, oh, we're at a resistance level. Oh, we just went right through it a day or two later. It's like, oh my gosh. And I had a couple people reach out to me yesterday and they're like, dude, what is going on with this market? And I'm just like, one, there's 1,000 different ways that I could take that. And the first thing I tell them is that, yeah, I know the market is held up so well. That's that's what I said, and he's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, have you not seen what the market has done? Where's the beginning of the year? Beginning of the year, let's find it. Here's beginning of the year. There's January. Maybe it'd be a better look if I go to the NASDAQ itself. Here's the beginning of the year. What have we had? We've had increased rate hikes all year. We've had a potential banking crisis. We've had stocks flying through the roof. And the second that the market goes down, you have people that are already saying, oh, dude, what's wrong with this market? I'm telling you right now. I'm not saying this is the case, but I would not be surprised if the market came all the ways back down to these lows. Now that's unlikely talking up here, and it's gonna have to work out some levels to that. But if it came all the ways back down to these lows, I would not be surprised in the slightest. And I'm sure there's going to be people all the ways to the downside saying, dude, what's wrong with this market? What's wrong with this market? Or buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip. And it's just like, dude, there is something bigger that's going on right here. And just looking at when we get this positive break on the NASDAQ. Here's your positive break. Boom, right there. You take out the high, you retest the high. This is the sole day that we almost went negative on strength. Just almost. If you were holding this NASDAQ strictly off of strength, you should never have sold. If you were going to sell, maybe you got stopped out on this day, and I am so sorry for that. That would suck. That would suck. And then, shoom, look at our strength. This is the very first negative break that we have had on the NASDAQ all year. All year. Is it reasonable that, and we're also breaking this trend line that, is it a solidified trend line? Maybe not. But, I mean, guys, the very first time the NASDAQ goes into a negative break, and I already have people asking me, dude, what's wrong with this market? Guys, it can drop irrationally. Irrationally. Now, hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully we can find some lows and find right now we're wicking and trying to put a green candle in. Even though it's gap down, buyers are coming in off this high. Maybe that is a catalyst for maybe some sort of relief little bounce and maybe a retest up to 15,000. I really don't know. But guys, just know that just because it's dropped right here doesn't mean that it can't drop another, and honestly the area that I keep mapping out is this original flat top break. It breaks it, it sets some sort of little retest, and then a gap up, wicks through the gap right into that flat top. This was a golden long right there, and you got that. You got that payout. Now there's profit taking coming in. Now the shorts are slightly taking control. I would just say size accordingly, find good companies, solid balance sheets, and go from there. You're not, it is extremely hard to buy the bottom. It is extremely hard to sell the top. Two very difficult things to do. So just keep that in mind. Please, guys, just please. Okay, so going into more of the title names, we just went over DFS, so let's go back over to that. And trying to hold this green candle up a 0.5% on the day. Strength isn't there. I'd just say the bottom's probably not in. Next name we have BTI. We had two fills on BTI yesterday. We had a bottom wick fill right here. Right here at 31.70, and we immediately put that order in for the gap. And I said on this wick, this isn't the bottom. This is just this is a long-term investment. Well, went to work when we were somewhere over here, and obviously the market ended very bloody yesterday, and we did get that fill off of 31.68, so we had two fills on the name yesterday. Well, getting a gap up, I had an open order of 31.85, which is sort of this flat top right here. Had it wanted to pull back in, I would have been a buyer to continue buying more shares. It was showing strength on the day when you had a lot of names in the red. And giving that gap up from the support level, it is maybe at a level down here. So if it does come back into these wick tops from the previous 2 days, I'm going to be a buyer. I think down here in these low 30s is a very interesting level to punch long, in my opinion. But moving forward, that is the talk with BTI. Strength, same story. Strength still is not there, sitting at negative 130 on strength. I would say, it still has these wick lows to fight through. Let's just see it trade sideways long enough, and we're going to try and get ads in those upper 31s near that gap, and see if this can actually end up breaking higher. Let's start with filling the gap up towards 32.80. And let's see if we can actually get some sort of move up to the top end of the channel, where maybe we'll think about some smaller trims. But all in all, even if it was up here at 37, up at the downtrend, I would be thinking bullish that, okay, we might get a rejection, but we have really good support here off 34 neckline. This is saying that the price moves all the ways up to 36.5. We have really good support off this neckline. Let's see if we can bounce off of that and then break this downtrend. And who knows, maybe we can catch a pop up to the top end of the range where, maybe in the 40s is reasonable. So that is an area are a name that I like the long for. I think you're getting fair value for your dollar, and even if it goes lower, I would say we have some the the top end of the bottom of the channel is that I'm going to be playing that. We're playing this support level. We're playing 30 flat, and we're playing the original neckline from back in 2009. We set this neckline. We back tested on a false right leg. Why I say false right leg is it does not get over top of this left leg. Well, now we do get over top of that left leg. This is insinuating that, hey, one day we're going to back test the neckline here, 2850. Look at that 2850 back test. You know, it closes up below that, but all in all, catches a nice bid. We are going to be buyers all the ways down to that 2850, and if it wants to go lower, we will gladly buy more. So that is BTI. Moving forward, Warner Bros. Discovery. We started at 1348. We averaged in a couple times yesterday off 13s, and we are on the bid at 1250. That 1250 has not been filled. The low of the candle is 1253. We're playing this trend line. We said that, hey, we're in this wedge pattern. We're going to give this, it breaks it. We're going to play the range, which was 1350 to start, which potentially a neckline. We played the top end of the downtrend, which potentially a neckline here at 13. And now we're looking to play this trend line at 1250. If it drops below, I'm probably saying hard out underneath 12. If it breaks underneath 12s, the higher lows is no longer insinuated. So I want to make sure I just don't get wicked out quick and go from there. But you know, that is what it is. And the last title name is NVAX. We're playing this like a swing, but I'd say it actually looks like a short. We're wicking into these EMAs consistently. We had an add to here at 735s, just kind of the middle of this green move. Yesterday we did not get the fill we wanted off of this neckline. You set a nice green move, consolidation, bull flag continuation, pulls back, and we were looking to buy this neckline with outs underneath of 7. So we're playing this like a swing trade. I believe it's, you know, COVID name related. I don't know any. I should know more of the news that's going on with that. But I am going to be playing this like a swing trade. All in all, if I was looking at this as a day trade, uh, it, maybe underneath of this wick low, give it 720. It's a little bit below the neckline, but you have really good support and a reasonable trend line right here at these 20. So it's like, you know, this is why we're playing it like a swing trade, and we're gonna give it this hard stop down the 7. If that ends up stopping us out, it ends up stopping us out, and we take a losing trade. But I do like this area, and I do like the trend line. If we go to the daily chart, not only does it have this is the trend line I was just talking about, and maybe I can get rid of this downtrend. That's more for the 15-minute, but you can see the trend line that is continuing to hold. So this second or this longer term trend line right here gives you that cushion down to that 7 that can potentially hold. If this wants to catch a bid, I think we have a legitimate flat top build here. You know, if I were to just mark these lows right here, and I would probably go right there. Even though you have this false breakdown, you retrace up. Well, this is also a flat bottom break right here. So boom, flat bottom break. You try to hold support, catches a bid, tries to run up to fill this gap and test these lows. Didn't have too much strength there. Tries to hold, gives it up, and then one little test before it shoots down. Test, 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 test. So this 945 to 950, I would say, is a move that we think is possible for this swing. If this 7 continues to hold, we're looking for this to eventually break over top of the wick high from yesterday, which is a 62. It tested up towards 50s today, got up to 56. But is it going to be able to break over top? Maybe it needs to test down here in these lower 7s before we catch a bid. If you crack underneath 7, yes, you do have support that's wick 2 multiple times, so you are risking selling the low. But you know, if it does go south, I would expect some sort of retest back down towards these lows, or you know, maybe 650 can hold. But even if you get underneath 650, I would say is there some sort of neckline and a gap fill right there? There is 616, so maybe down to there is a reasonable area for a level to drop to. Neo was added to this list. We think that this is a tight enough channel, and this probably falls into that tech sector. But strength, right around that middle ground, I'm saying to myself that hey, big players around this middle ground. We have a neckline that's getting close to. We have a gap fill at 1050. We have a gap fill at 1030. I'm probably saying to myself that underneath of these wick lows, if it got underneath that, I would say, yeah, look for more downside pressure. But if it's able to hold this tight channel with this support range, right around middle strength, earnings coming up, is there going to be some buying coming in leading into the earnings report where, hey, we can catch a bid? Let's get back up to these EMAs up here. And I'm gonna actually, I normally don't pull up the EMAs for these names, but I am going to for Neo just because, this does not guarantee anything, guys. This one I'm about to show you does not guarantee anything. But people call it the golden cross, which where the 50 period crosses over the 200. Oh, well, I shouldn't be on the weekly. There we go. There's a daily. So we're going to pull these up. These are EMAs. Giving a gap down below the 50 period, so that 100 period at 1020, that is meeting up with this support range. So are we going to catch some buyers? But you see the golden cross of the 50 period crossing over the 200, rejecting the 50 period. So all in all, if you were looking for that 50 period to hold and you're like, nope, 50 didn't hold, let's just give this up. I do think it's reasonable that if it did come down to like 1025, that some buyers can step in. You have a decent support level. You have these highs over here as well. Whoops. This is 1003. It's still a little bit below that body candle. But just looking at that body candle is 1010 meeting up with the 200. I think it is something, if you were looking for something a little more volatile to buy near this middle ground on strength, you do have a cross on the MACD, so keep that in mind. I don't know. I really don't even really use a MACD. I, I, I don't know. But I think it's a reasonable sort of look to maybe catch a bid before it gets rejected. And that is all the names for today. If we were to run across some of the other movers for today, oil wicking up towards that level, but still has strength. Comparing oil to the Nasdaq, the comparison that I used is that there was a clear trend change in oil. You were able to break this downtrend. You were able to, get that positive strength, bull flag continuation, reject the downtrend, set the flat top, and break that flat top. Sideways consolidation, take out the high, retest the high, take out the high again. Well, now coming back in, but you still have this downtrend into these middle 70s is really good support. I can't help but laugh. When I was talking about oil and preaching about oil down here, bounce, 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 it was nothing but tech names. Like, why are you playing around with oil when tech is just rallying? And I simply said, oil is gonna have some tough comp years. No question about it. They're gonna have some tough comp years from that 2022. But looking at even some of the earnings reports for 2023, oil is still continuing to return value to shareholders through buybacks and dividends, and they're still, even with oil beaten down in these 60s, they were still putting up margins, gross margins from 40 to 80%, operating margins from 20 to 40%. It's just like, if they can still put up those margins with oil in these 60s, what are they gonna do? What type of margins are they going to put up if oil is to catch a bid right here and hold this support and eventually break this downtrend? Well, now we've broken that downtrend. Oil, they're increasing their output as well. So increasing output with oil increasing, what type of earnings reports are we going to be looking at in this third quarter? Oh man, it's going to be so fun looking through earnings reports going into this next quarter. It's going to be so much fun. So that is very exciting. And the one name that we have up here, we have multiple oil plays that I don't have up here. I just don't want to be transparent. I can't. I don't want to be what's the word I'm looking for? Not transparent, misleading, because a lot of oil has really caught a bid, and a good example of that is XLE. XLE is an oil fund. I am not looking to sell, but catching a bid. So am I going to suggest a long-term buy in XLE up here when we were really preaching it down here in these mid 70s? No, no, I'm not going to do that. But if I wanted to add XLE up into here, I don't even yesterday I don't even think I looked at XLE, and I hold a reasonable position in XLE, and it's like, I hold a reasonable, and I'm not even going to talk about it. It's well, that's my rant on oil. I would say oil, even with the Nasdaq down over 0.5%, and all these tech names down over 1%. I think oil is got a reasonable chart set up, even if it just trades sideways, even if it falls down lower. I think oil is a clear trend change. Where if you look at the Nasdaq, this is, I mean, we said it over here when it was taking out these lows. That little ABC right there, we said, hey, this is a clear trend change on the Nasdaq, where oil is a clear trend change to the upside. I mean, I know that doesn't go into much breakdown, but I mean, you guys are seeing it live here. I'm live every single day. And it's too bad nobody's here to listen to it. It's a damn shame. But PayPal catching a green candle. We said 57.50 we wanted to add. Well, we didn't add it simply because, gapping down, you don't know it's going to do that. But I would expect the company to be buying back their own shares at these levels. It's just a matter of strength at this point. Well, on your commodity, you're getting a neckline break. I would say this is a reasonable add to the portfolio. Uh, we thought the earnings report was good. That doesn't mean that the stock price is going to go up or down. Well, clearly, since the earnings report, it's gone down. Well, we also like this earnings report over here. Clearly, it went down. It retraces all the way back up to that gap fill, and boom, beaten up. So down here in these middle 50s, this is the support I really want to play, and we'll see how it goes when we get down to there. DFS almost up 1% on the day. So looking at the daily, putting in a nice green candle. Looking at the 15-minute, initial candle, kind of a bull flag. Buyers coming in the middle of the green candle, now taking out the highs. Now up 8% on the day. So DFS with a nice hold. Looking at NVAX. Is this going to be able to hold the trend line? We're going to give it at least to this first trend line. The second trend line is going to be the 710s. That is going to be an area where we think about it. Nasdaq short, giving up the ghost a little bit, but I would expect, even if it came all the way back down to the gap, you have this top end of the channel that's broken through for a potential hold. But maybe we can see some sort of rally coming in for just today, and maybe we can find a trade that we can go about. So now that I'm done rambling, let's focus on these movers. 10x was one that we said, hey, we liked it here at these 35s. Well, that washout top, the washout top candle was the story of yesterday. Well, now holding these levels, now flirting back up towards this range. Not a lot of volume in this name, so maybe that's some reason to stay away from it. Let's see if we can find anything else. Nice volume increase to start the day. Bull flag look. Gives that washout top. Be careful. IMP has been getting beaten up. Beaten up. I would question whether they had some sort of share issuance. If they haven't had a share issuance, then I would be interested in the name. I can't see the earnings, but this is actually a profitable company. Even, normally when you see this share split 1 to 15, uh, it's them trying to keep compliance. Uh, so with IMPP and oil looking good, close to that one flat, that is your compliance level. That is where I'd want to see them maybe try the hold, but strength just isn't there, so just show some patience with the name. Top LSDI, a lot of these names just don't have strength, and I'm not ready to trade them yet. Nice positive break on BLMN. They just got done paying a dividend, so now it's kind of washed out those that selling pressure. Mr. Howe put me on this one. Something to do with Hawaii Internet, or not Internet, Hawaii Energy. But got beaten down all the way from 33 down to 12. Pays a 36-cent dividend that is paid. But same story, strength just isn't there yet. So we will put that on the watch and keep an eye on it. Bill, non-GAAP 59 cents, but a GAAP EPS a negative. Strength just isn't there. Let's see if this can come all the ways back down. If this got down to 80, I think this flat top for 80 looks really good. But I would say possibly a rejection of the downtrend from right there. VCIG. Interesting look, has a nice U build right here, building the flat top for this 4 break. Is this going to be able to break forward today? And looking at it, not very much volume. That's the only thing that would keep me away from this. If this did get volume, that 4 break could be legit. EIGR, same story, no volume. But a nice candle setup, getting close to that positive break. It already fought through these lows, which it rejected here. Now holding above that, is this going to be able to catch a bid? Solidified a higher low. Fills that gap at 55 cents on the money. CJET, MRSN, no volume. TTOO, still holding those 38s. Strength is close. CGC solidifying sort of a higher low and put a nice body candle into these lows over here. Strength isn't quite there, but sloping up could be a eventual positive break on CGC. And this is looking at all the top movers of today. Is it anything worth, Carvana, strength coming to that middle ground, putting a body candle and a wick kind of into this previous low. Yeah, just not really seeing much that's worth putting more emphasis on. Just scrolling through to see if there's any percent change differences. No volume on this one. 5K. Foot Locker up 1.5%. I'd say this is a support level. It's got a nice coil down right here. Earnings are coming up. They're expected a lower quarter than what they have been doing. Gap EPL. I gotta sneeze, so I'm gonna mute my mic. Oh man, that's a bad one. But I'd say some of these retail names have really been beaten down, where I'm not surprised to see some of them holding up. And I thought I seen another one here. Oh yeah, Best Buy. It's been getting beaten down with the Nasdaq. This one was one that held up, but looking more at Foot Locker. Foot Locker has been getting beaten up pretty good. MO. We just put a retracement from bottom of the move, top of the move. Bottom move, top of the move. At 618. Is it going to get down there? It has a reasonable trend line. Wick, wick, wick. 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth point of contact that we're on right now. We are already buying BTI. We have a position in Altaria as well, but a reasonable area for maybe a long. DocuSign, flirting with these lows. Strength isn't there. Earnings are coming up. Stem catching a little bit of a bid, but weak name. That's gonna be the story with pretty much a lot of these names after the last couple days. Is that everything's gonna be beaten down a little bit, but a lot of green on the day. Nasdaq to 0.6% to the downside. I'd say Disney down here. This is a support level. Is it going to be something that holds? Strength is not quite there, but if it started giving that curl up, maybe. DFS still trying to hold about 1%. PayPal, some good buying coming in the PayPal today. Just not quite there strength wise. So we're going to give that some time to breathe as well. GM, we did have the order in for 32.50. Talk about open price, just barely not getting us down. We missed by, low of this candle is 57. We missed by 7 cents on GM. But we are looking to start that position on GM. We think it's a reasonable trend line. NVAX down 1% on the day. Is this an area that can hold? You know, we've kind of just been stagnant right here. Is this setting up some sort of flat bottom break? Well, coming down into these 720s, I think, could be a reasonable add. You have some solid trend lines that are holding right here. You're able to take out the high. Let's retrace down, solidify that there is going to be a higher low. But even dating back to since from right here from when we started moving, slightly pick up in volume, a slight pickup in volume, and even the start of the day relative to what it has been doing, decent volume that has come in. A name that we haven't talked about is Geo. Has a nice bull flag going. If I was looking for a newer entry, I'd say this Geo is reasonable. You can see the channel that we have drawn on this. If it's able to continue holding these sevens, I think Geo is a reasonable long. It doesn't mean it's guaranteed. 7 gives up. Maybe that's an out for you. Maybe setting up a flat bottom break. Strength isn't quite there, but you can see the hold of the trend line for today down here at these sevens. We'll see if this is something that can catch a bid. And looking at it from this perspective, you know, possibly a longer term trend line playing in right here as well. I'd say I would go from right here, which, you know, that could insinuate that, hey, we're looking for some more downside pressure down into 6. But I do think it's a reasonable long, just not quite there on strength. And you can see it wicking into these levels, kind of a false break of some of these previous lows right here. Just marking this previous low on a weekly, you can see the multiple wicks. Tries to hold, breaks it down, reject. If it's able to get over, I'd say 750 is that line in the sand. The last names that we really haven't talked about was BAC, really coming on in. But I think this trend line is going to be, we have not hit a reload on this name yet. We said 29 flat, we were going to think about it. Well, that would have filled today, and that is the gap fill right here, 29.02. So it's good to see that some gap fill buying's taking place, but giving a negative break, is it going to catch a bid and then trade back down? I like this trend line, and we're going to add against strength into it. You know, I look at Bank of America, they're buying back shares quarter after quarter, and still solid increases. You know, gap EPS at 87 cents. You look at a year ago. So you got the EPS increase, 22.5 billion to 25.2 billion. Solid increase in revenue on top of having a banking crisis. I'd say that it is a reasonable long-term investment, and that's why we're going to be playing this trend line. Neo still kind of at the bottom end of this channel. Given the look of flat bottom break. VCIG gives that 4 break, so we were just talking about this at 388 and said that, hey, if this breaks 4, it's legit. It could be legit. You know, it hasn't closed the candle yet, so this could easily just give a washout top. Very light very light volume, which is what would keep it away from me. NVAX right into these 725s. We are maybe going to think about adding some NVAX here in these lower 20s. Just this neckline. We didn't get the fill here. We didn't have the order. It wasn't a good till cancel order we put in yesterday, but now that I've seen some buying pressure right there, we'll see if we can hold that. And here's 723, so let's just go ahead and get an ad. Let's go ahead and get an ad on this name. We're gonna try and just respect the level. That's all we're doing here. So there we do have the fill, and I think we're just gonna run the hard stop down to 7 and see if we can get something going here. If we can build this position out down here at this trend line and it starts working for us, we'll know if we get that 765 break. Not the greatest look, but truly into this neckline now. So let's see if we can see some buying come in on NVAX, and if not, then you know, it is what it is. But let's see if we can get the buying to come in first. Looks like Hal is over trading KRCRKN. Let's go take a look. Pulling right back into this neckline, so I'm guessing that's probably what he's trading. One thing I'd say with a weekday, name is still weak. Looks like their estimate on revenue was 0. So I just don't know if I would be interested in trading something with 0 revenue. I do kind of like the level that he's trying to add at right here, though. Hmm. As of right now, he has a stop in at 180. One thing I would say is that if I was trying to enter, I would probably be trying to buy 180s, which is right off this neckline. I'm not going to play around with this, but I will say that I'm expecting him to get stopped out, and it's maybe gives a false wick down to those 175s, and then could potentially catch a bid, but not something that I'm going to be interested in. Yeah, I just don't know about that one. Let's look at the top volumes for the day. TTOO 67 million. WeWork. Nikola. Nice move on Nikola. Still holding that 150 entry. I said that I was going to hold this until it went underneath and turned red on me. Uh, Nikola trying to show some signs of strength. But right here towards this middle ground, this is what we wanted to see. Discover, uh, the second lowest volume for the names I'm looking at. Neo, uh, one of the higher volume names. Isn't going to be able to hold the bottom end of this tight channel, maybe. NVAX, a small wick into these 20s. This is where we got our last fill. But I do think that this is a reasonable look right here. Looking at DFS, that's a nice green move. Is it going to have to set up a flat top here at these 93 halves, which we're there right now? So, I mean, well, to be more specific, 93.71. The wick high that I got to yesterday was 75s. So, catching a nice bid here on Discover. NVAX trying to hold these 725s. Go look at the tape real quick and see. Only 5 lots on 25, so nothing really crazy. Ugh. I'm tired. In end phase, down into those 120s. We're going to think about ads on end phase if it gets further into those 120s. NVAX, you're at these middle 25s, showing a nice wick of buying pressure off those 25s, even though it got below that. I like to see it wicking down towards that trend line with a little bit of cushion as well. Nice bull flag here on Ford, and looking at GM, it's kind of the same setup. I'm very tempted to just move that 5250 order up and just take the difference on 50 cents for this first order. NVAX giving up 25s for now. We do think that there is reasonable support in these 20s. Is it going to be able to hold with a trend line here at 18s? I just don't know. BCIG giving that washout top, be careful. But if you were looking for that forward break, you got it. Hopefully you were able to take some profits. All kinds of different trend lines able to be put here. Ugh. Man, tired. I still have some coffee right here. NVAX down to 720s, more into this neckline. I know this is probably a mess. There's just so many different ways of setting this. It's impossible to tell which one. gonna move that channel down just a little bit, just so it's still inside of that. Uh, I'd say if it starts wicking into this, still has a reasonable chance of holding right at this neckline support, have multiple different trend lines. Is that a catalyst where, hey, we're gonna break down this trend line? Maybe, maybe. BCIG right at that 4 level. Just no volume. If it showed me some clear volume increase and a nice green candle, then uh, I would look at that as more of a full break of that 4. But PayPal, just a nice continuation throughout the whole day. And my dog's got to go outside. Okay, okay. I'm gonna let my dog outside. I'll be back. I will be back. And we are back. Looking at some of these movers on today, I'd say the stocks for today looking pretty decent, aside from Neo. But I mean, I guess you can kind of guess what we were looking at with Neo in the first place. Is that 11 neckline, a smaller neckline here, right at 1025 with a gap fill at 1060. Uh, Holding above those, kind of in this range, in between 11 and 11 or in 1075. Uh, Warner Bros. We were on the bid at 1250. We missed it by 4 pennies. Okay, okay. NVAX, gave a nice wick. We averaged a little bit in off those 734s, and we averaged a little bit off these 723s. So a couple averages in, but we do think that this is more of a swing trade, and we are not trying to say, yep, we bought the exact bottom. It'd be nice. Yes, of course it would be nice. But that is not really. We're saying that, hey, we're trying to get out our fills as close to 7 as possible. You can see the catalyst for the long-term trend line. You can see the sort of wedge patterns that we have drawn in. I'm sure this can be drawn further across. But I mean, I would say that even the top of this candle at 716 should be pretty good support. You have all kinds of trend lines built in there. You even have a downtrend broke. I guess that's the bottom end of the channel. But I would say you probably do have a downtrend break as well. If we just mark top, 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 you break that downtrend and you open up at it, and this is where we kind of show that confirmation that, hey, we're trying to follow this trend line. So here's the open of the next candle. We are giving up these lows here at wick low, wick low. Are we going to start rejecting 727s? Well, now if it's a catalyst that if, maybe a couple candles down the road, we're able to break over 725. You see some green candles up to these 730s, possibly. But then do we need to pull back into these 720s, confirm a higher low before we can go higher? NASDAQ short, I'm not surprised it's kind of giving up the ghost. A large gap up as soon as it broke over this downtrend. Are the top end of the channel, and now doesn't need to pull all the ways back into those 2080s. I think it's reasonable. DFS breaking over top of that neckline right there. How about that? Good old boring. Oh, Live Road, he's trading a boring stock. Trading a boring stock. Discover Financial. Boring. Yep, boring. Nice and boring, but green. Just buy a dip on NVIDIA, bro. Oh, look at that. You bought this at 400. Oh, man, you're sitting pretty, man. $25 in the money. Just buy NVIDIA, bro. Yeah. Just buy a dip on NVIDIA. That little dip down right there after it's went from $106 all the way up to almost 500. Just buy the dip on NVIDIA. You'll be all right. Oh, oil? You're trading oil? What's wrong with you? Technology. Tech only. I'm such a genius. I bought NVIDIA, Meta, Tesla, Amazon, Microsoft, and Apple. I'm such a genius. I bought all the top names in the index. ah, dude, I'm such a good stock picker. I just bought all the top stocks in the index. I'm a genius. Oh, Jesus. Oh, I cracked myself up. And I'm only doing this because nobody's watching. Nobody's in here watching. I love it. I love it. I'm such a good stock picker. I just bought all the top stocks in the index because United States, they just always go up. It just always goes up. It'll never pull back. Straight through the roof. Let's go up to 30K on the NASDAQ. Another double up. Give me another double up on the NASDAQ. Sick of it. It disgusts me. absolutely disgusts me. I'll be right back. Gotta make a call. And of course, he doesn't want to answer. Screw him, right? Doesn't want to take my phone call. Looking at some of these names, BTI, nice strength on the day. SQ pulling back in, probably has some sort of descending channel. PayPal, nice move on PayPal for the day. Discover, taking out the neckline high or the start of the high from yesterday. Good look. Devon Energy, how about that? Right off the. What did I say yesterday on the live stream? We have that good till cancel order off 48. We should have moved that puppy up right to the gap. Right to the gap. Opens right at the gap at 48.50. Shoom. And now getting ready to take out this neckline. Nice hold. Oil. Boring. I know. Oil is so boring. Forward. I didn't mean to do that. Putting a wick towards the top end of that downtrend that possibly isn't set right, but all in all, this is the trend line that we were looking to play. We've been patient, we've been holding forward all the ways back in. I know you're gonna be like, dude, this guy has no clue what he's doing. Well, when you get the entry and you trim it all the ways up to 15, you hold a nice piece all the ways in. It's okay. I'm still green. So what the beauty of this trend line buy was, and now when it comes right back in, we're gonna reload this entire position. It's gonna be gorgeous. I'm gonna love it. Love it. GM, same kind of look as Ford, has a nice trend line build. Uh, Great earnings report on Ford and GM personally. I think. Um, the one that I am still worried about, anytime we're in a newer swing position, playing with the trend line. Let's just clear everything. That was so sloppy. Anytime we're playing with a new position, it is a little bit scary because, like, ah, man, what if it breaks this trend line? You get a nice gap to the downside. It's tough to tell. It's tough to tell, but definitely some shortable levels up at those 750s. Are we going to see buyers coming on in? Probably a clear descending channel that is brewing right here. But continuing the wick down, is it going to start wicking into it again off this candle? I don't know. And it sort of is increasing red volume on this breakdown of this 725. So that is a little bit worrisome. Warner Bros, just a chop fest. End phase, we said we were waiting for 120s. Well, 120s came into play today a little bit. Still no average in on end phase. Baba, I think Baba is clear value play. My opinion, of course. But what do I know? Reported 240, 190 gap. If you're looking at $1.50 gap EPS a year, $6 a year, which I'd expect growth personally. Talks in China with stimulus. They're already increasing their margins. 14% revenue growth if they can just sustain revenue growth. The company itself, average shares bought is around 88 to 89. So anything under that, you got a $16.3 billion buyer on your side. Disney, a nice hold of those 85s. Pretty much the low. Just marking those lows right there. Nice hold. Neo, I mean, it is a knife, but strength right around that middle ground. You guys hear me say all the time, those big players are around that zero. So NVAX being slightly negative right here. If this trend line is going to work out, we want to see it take out 750s and give us that positive break And what I'm looking for truly is actually a retest. Just marking this green low right here. I'm looking at that green low. Boom. Tries to hold, gives it up, a retest, false break, one final retest before right back down to the trend line. Is the trend line gonna be able to hold? Tough to say, but ripping up to the 300s, it looks like there was a stock split, no stock split since there. So goes from 370. You know, I'm sure you have some gaps. Is this a gap fill right there? This was a gap that has been filled. But there's your neckline, and there's your next gap. It has another gap right in there. So just mapping that out. Whoops, didn't get that last one marked. Direct correlation with gap number 1580. Does it need to give up this trend line and come all the ways back in to these lows again? So if it doesn't want to do that, you know, I think that this is an area that could work out. Put in a monster quarter, but you know, some of these pharmaceutical or bio companies, they are very inconsistent. So it's very hard to sit here and say, "Oh yeah, this earnings report is the start of something huge." No, I would not say that is necessarily the case, but they still put up a monster quarter. So all I'm looking for is enough people to say, yeah, that quarter, if they can get anywhere close to that, let's see if this trend line can hold. And as of right now, trying to, but it's going to take some time for this one to play out. And honestly, anytime you're dealing with this type of setup on a company that, you know, isn't like like you're not really expecting the most buying pressure in these types of companies. Like you're not expecting it to be like let's go for Ford for example. Ford's always going to trade high volume. When Ford's here on this trend line, I'm expecting that there's going to be people that are like, "Hey, Ford's on this trend line. We're gonna buy it." But then you also have the anti-Ford where they'd say, "Hey, we think this trend line is eventually going to give up, and we can come back in, retest maybe down to 950." A couple different ways of looking at it, but of course I don't have my water. Uh, Yeah, there's no way. There ain't no way I would try Tesla. I can't wait till this is trading back down here, and this you're gonna have everyone saying, "Oh, remember the last time it was here? You remember the last time it traded at 100?" 7% margins ago, about 20 million shares ago, and uh, I mean, I could go down the list. Over 450 million of stock-based compensation, 1, 2, 3 quarters in a row. You know, people overlook that. If there's one thing that people overlook, it's the stock-based compensation. Quarter after quarter, you can bank away $450 million going to those employees. 450 mil. You know what they do? They dump it. They dump it. Oil holding strong. Nice green candle. Trying to show that, hey, this is the level that we want to hold. NVAX right back into these 718s. Are we going to see some buying pressure? What type of wick? What type of candle close are we going to be looking at today? And there's 17s. How does this gap act? I think 712 is going to be the last ad. 715's coming in for. I mean, I don't see the buying pressure coming in. Let's see what the tape looks like. But I mean, this is the trend line. I mean, that's a wick low, wick low, wick low, wick low. Is it going to be another wick low? This came on in pretty aggressive here. You know, it's reasonable that this is maybe a dud. We said we were giving the hard stop down to 7, but this is always the tricky area where it's like, is it even worth it? Is it worth it? Wicking in the 15s, you know, that is what we marked right here, but I'd say 712. Are we going to see any type of pressure off of that level? And that's the last sip of my coffee. Let's look at some of these other movers. And there we have a small green candle coming on in. There we go. This is also a red move right here, so expecting some sort of selling pressure and maybe some shorting pressure in the middle of that. But all in all, I just want to see, you know, if it wants to pop back up to 225s, okay, let's see it pull back in, solidify a higher low, solidify this trend line. If it wants to put a red engulfing through this, you know, I would be forced to go over to the daily chart where this would be looking sort of like a flat bottom break. Wick low comes down to 85s, this wick low 701s. We're going to be put in a difficult position. So I'd just like for this to just show us, hey, we're going to have some buyers off of this trend line. Let's close around 720 somewhere. We risk a potential gap down, but we risk a potential takeout of this neckline. So pushes up, rejects it a little bit lower today. Now if it gets over this 760, I think I'll be a lot more comfortable. Or maybe if we do have the size we want, you know, outs into that 795 to body candle of 784. Let me look more at this. Oh, that reminds me, I gotta check my fantasy lineup. In a crucial week this week, I need to win. Absolutely need to win this week's fantasy matchup. Up by 47 at the moment. Got 3 pitchers going today. Looks like my lineup is actually set properly, surprisingly. It's set correctly. Devin Energy just continuing this nice little rip to the upside. Tesla just eating it up. There we go. Finally showing some sort of relief. Only in the 720, so I mean it's not. We could have been buying this little red candle right here. It was candle number 3 after the wick, wick, wick. A true put wick into that trend line, but now starting to show a little bit of signs of relief. Now I would expect some selling pressure in the middle of this red move somewhere, and if it doesn't come on this candle and it keeps pushing up, I'd expect boom, 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 nice holds all the ways across. Gives up those lows, I would expect some sort of rejection there where if we do get rejected, I just want to see us continue holding this trend line. If it holds this trend line, let's see it make a move up. Okay, if it rejects this longer term channel, this channel that we have set right here, if it rejects the top end, do we need to come back in and then try to confirm some sort of higher low? Low, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low. I just want to see this keep bouncing for higher lows where if we do get this neckline break over top of these 60s, here's your previous lows up here. You can see the give of this support. Shoom, a little bit of a false break, retest before we trade back down in, build the neckline, confirm the lows, and then break the neckline where let's see this. If it were some sort of retracement, you can see how it maps up pretty well. Your half meeting in pretty well. Your 702 meeting in also very well. Your 618 also meeting in very well. So just a couple levels to the upside. And even the 944 is what a weird number. Look at how that meets in very well and gives a test up to that before we go south. So all kinds of different levels that we have mapped out right here, just from holding this trend line, could mean some price action up here in the 8s or 9s. So by no means am I gonna get shook out of this one. We are red on it, but a lot of times I do go red on my swing positions originally. I mean, I'm not saying there is zero correlation with this whatsoever. But if you guys remember that first day, my first fill on the name came in at 93 flats. It ran up to 95s. It pulled back in. We were buying 93.25s. We were buying 92s. We were trying to get 91 halves. We never did. We wait till the next day. We said, hey, patience. We're buying 90.50. We were buying 90 flat. We were buying 90 flat. And now the average cost that I have, even yesterday, we had fills that were higher than the price action was at. Even today, we had fills above 92s, above 93s. But now, catching a bid. I mean, so a lot of times on these swing trades, and I'm not even looking at Discover. I mean, Discover, you don't see Discover with any type of trend line. It's actually giving up the lows. We're buying underneath of these lows. I mean, give me a break here, fellas. But Discover Financial is a lot more financially sound, and this was a monster level here at 90. So it was a knife, yes. But looking at NVAX, is this story over yet? I didn't mean to get rid of that. Is the story over yet? I don't know. It very well could be. Maybe we see a gap down, we come down and we take a hit on the name. Okay. Sometimes that's the risk that you take. But nobody wants to see this because it's boring. It's boring. Only 2 million in volume. When it's trading, I'm not saying it's gonna get up here, but watch it. When it's up here at 850, or when it's up here, this is just hypothetical. I'm not saying this is gonna happen. It breaks 10. You're gonna have a lot of people saying, "Oh, NVAX, NVAX," and then maybe you have some people where it's trading down here, and they're like, "Ah, oh, dude, this guy's a joke. He doesn't know what he's doing." They act like the people on YouTube that are trading live or anything. They're saints. They can't go wrong. Let's go to the top volume. They're probably trading maybe this or they're trading Tesla. Watch that you'll have some traders that are just trading Tesla, and they'll take a trade in the middle of this green candle, take a little bit of profit, and then the next time they say, oh, it worked last time right here, and then they get stopped out, and then it goes up, and it's like, well, I had the right idea. They'll find a way to make themselves sound like they're geniuses, and then it gets back down there again, and they're like, yep, it worked last time. I'm not gonna get stopped out. Oh man, I got stopped out. I was trying to give it as close to 250 as I could, and then it gives a pop, and they're like, oh my god. And then they trade it again right here at this level, and then they get stopped out again. And they're like, oh, and now probably, oh well, now we're into the trend line. We're getting close. We're getting close. Tesla, oh gap fill. We gotta buy this 220. Stopped out, gapping below the trend line. Oh, next thing you know, they're gonna be trading this 210 level. And that first time that they take a nice trade on it, they're gonna make themselves out to be the biggest geniuses ever. The biggest geniuses ever. Oh, last time we consolidated like this. This is a different consolidation period. 100% a different feel. But I will say that there is some support at 210, so maybe this catches some sort of relief rally around that 210, and then those same people are like, oh, I'm a genius. I'm a genius. I'm trading Tesla. I'm trading NVIDIA. I'm trading Microsoft. I'm trading Apple, Amazon, Meta. Those are all top index names. Don't be a sheep. Don't be a sheep. Be a wolf. Now, I'm not trying to bring negative energy on people. I don't even have anyone listening to me right now. Nobody's ever going to hear what I'm saying right now. Nobody. Don't be a sheep. Do what works for you. Just because some guy on YouTube is trading Tesla or he's buying the dip, buy the dip. Buy the dip on Tesla. I don't see it, guys. I do not see it. But then again, I'm trading NVAX right now. I'm in on a red trade. So, keep that in mind. Nobody's perfect. I'll be the first one to tell you I make mistakes every day. I make mistakes every day. Nobody's perfect. But you know what also I do? I make mistakes every day. I get better every day. I work this market every single day. For the last 3 years, I have maybe on 2 hands. You can maybe use 2 hands to count how many days of the market I've missed over the last 3 years. I hold that with a lot of pride. So believe in me, don't believe in me. I believe in myself. I believe in my ability. I believe in my investing strategy. DFS pushing that 2% on the day. Nice bull flag continuation. Am I going to sell? Hell no. Holding those shares for the rest of my life. Come back in. I don't care. I'm still holding them. Break down the lows. I don't care. I'm still holding them. Go down to 80. I don't care. I'm still holding it. I'll be buying, obviously, but, come back in to mid 60s. I don't care. Holding. Rest of my life. There's nothing, just because it's 2% isn't why I'm saying that. There's nothing that could possibly happen with this name. Unless there's something that fundamentally changes with the business. Something that fundamentally changes on this next earnings report or the next earnings report after that. Or the next earnings report 10 years or 5 years from now. There'd have to be something that would fundamentally change for me to sell these shares bought here in these low 90s. There's no way. No way in heck. NVAX 719. It's a boring day. Just looking at some of these other movers, what are these names? You know what I mean? There's There's CRK in, maybe if it keeps trading sideways, that 180 neckline, and Hal did get stopped out of that. I think he got stopped out for a green trade at 185. So, ring the register for Hal. Maybe it was a good decision. But I would just question the conviction on the setup. I would challenge him and say that, hey, did you have the conviction on the setup then? Yeah, you took a green trade, but this could have easily shot down through. Why does it keep holding this 180 level? Why did you want to get out of it? Is what I would say. Obviously, he had a reason. Maybe there's PR, maybe something with that earnings report. I don't know. Hey, puppy, you're okay. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say. I wish I had some people watching. Uh, Maybe they had some stuff that they wanted me to look at. I love looking at other tickers. I actually feel I strive at looking at other people's tickers, and actually gives me more confidence. Maybe even go and try and trade it. NVAX open of the next candle, starting off green. I still think that this is going to have some pressure here at these 220 or 728s. We'll see where it goes from there. But a good start off of that wick bottom. It really looked like a knife. If it really wanted to give up and shoot down closer to this next longer term trend line, which off of the 15-minute channel is very tough to see. But as I scroll out, you can see something like that. I just wanted to get these wicks into there, kind of into the body of that wick, low of that wick, and just mapping it out accordingly. Neo, given that look like it's going to give up the ghost, how do we act here at this 1050? MNRO. Dividend coming up. At the daily. Reasonable look. Has a wedge pattern. Are we going to see some sort of pop up into those 40s? Earnings in a month. I haven't really looked through the last earnings, but profitable. Looks like slight decrease in revenue. Expected 31s. Slight increase is estimate, but consistently missing on that revenue and the EPS. Let's take a look over at NVIDIA. You know, all in all, I'd say a reclaim of positive and then a reclaim of negative is not something that would interest me. Looking at the 15, weak name, rejecting the level. I don't know what happened to my 21 right there. I don't know, could be something that pans out there. I have no clue. NVAX wicking up into that towards those 25s. So we do have 728s marked, but maybe just moving that down to the wick low right here. Just give it 25s. Doesn't need to trade back down in and respect this 715 again. Then catch a bid, then set the higher low. That's what, in a perfect setup that I'm looking for here, this rejects up here. Maybe not right now. Maybe it comes. Gives that S. I call it an S, where you break down the lows and you give that test up to the bottom.
TUP actually a pretty decent look. I'm not gonna lie. Probably weakness on the daily. Actually holding decent strength. As earnings, did they report earnings? Let's take a look at this one. No, doesn't. BCIG, back over that 4. Is volume picking up yet? Not yet. IMPP, nice wick, nice volume increase relative to what it was doing. Light volume on this pullback with a nice wick candle. Now flirting with the highs, but also the 135 lows there.
Mr. Drift, happy Friday. How we doing? It's been boring. I've been lonely. And I'm not blaming you. Hell no, I'd never blame you, Drift. You are loyal. I love you. Just kidding. I do really appreciate you for tuning in, Drift. I actually was very close to ending the stream when nobody was watching. Yeah, I'm doing good. I mean, aside from NVAX, we got a couple fills. First one coming in at just 32s, or I think it was 33s. Next one coming in at 25s. We're just trying to give it this low. After that, we identified this descending channel and said, hey, we just really think there's decent support right here. We're buying it against strength, and it was full red engulfing candle, and I was like, man, we got 212 gap. It does not look perfect. This is more of a swing trade that we're building, and we're just saying that, hey, we've played trend lines before, and it's been coiling long enough, and we're gonna try and just hold this swing trade against us for right now. But man, it's this one when you're starting a new swing position off a trend line, majority of the time that strength isn't gonna be there for you. And it's very tricky because I mean, just off the top of my head, let's just go to the C limited. Now this isn't one that we were trying, but I mean, this is all in all possible. If you're looking at this as some sort of a trend line right here, and you're saying, hey, it keeps trying to hold it, it's trying to hold it, boom, huge gap down. Doc S, another name that we were watching, holding it. We've talked about Docs before, holding this trend line. Hey, this trend line's been respected, and boom, gap down on the earnings. Well, luckily for NVAX, we have the earnings report, which was almost a record earnings report for the name. But these bio companies uh, are very tricky. They can manipulate when they choose to register their revenues and profits. So it's just something that you gotta be careful with when you're dealing with these companies. I believe it is COVID related. We have all kinds of just a mess of stuff. So let's just clear out everything. At the end of the day, we're looking at this as saying, hey, we're giving this all the ways down below this trend line of 7. If that stops us out, we do take a hit on it. But if we are right, we think that we can print this name up. And all I've been doing is marking this candle right here. So just mark the bottom of that candle, which it does give a false break. You know, this is a flat bottom break in itself, right there. Boom, gap down through that support. Red engulfing. Okay, we hold a little bit of a false break, but it gets bought up. We try to put a wick to the start of the gap. It tries to hold, breaks down, test, gap down. Here's where we set our low. We retest up to the bottom. We have a false break, closes right at that level. We try the gap up again, no gap fill buyers to keep it going. We trade all the ways in, a little bit of sideways consolidation. We set our second point of contact. 3 candles of, average volume on the pullback, light volume. Pulls back in, higher low. Boom. There's our first little bitty volume increase that we've had. We pull back in. I'm sure there's some sort of trend line people had set there. Well, now we've broken down that on the negative break. We retest one time, and now it's just up to this trend line to hold. Is it going to be able to hold this trend line though? Very tough to say. Great show. At the end of the day, I just try to do my best. Uh, I I feel on YouTube there isn't too many people that are trying to keep up to date on a 650 ticker watch list. But a new addition, I don't know if you were here yesterday. Stocks for today. These are all stocks that I own, except for now two, which would be Neo. And Neo, we tried trading yesterday. Stop out. Okay, whatever. And GM, we had to order for GM at 32.50. 32.57 low on the day, just barely missed that fill. You know, it is what it is. I still think that it's a weak strength name, so we are going to get this fill eventually. But if we're looking at earnings reports, you know, people have been raving. I even looked on the news bladder or blotter, not bladder, blotter, the news blotter for Walmart, and everyone's raving about Walmart. Oh, Walmart had such fantastic earnings, and I'm sure that it caught a bid, and I'm sure people were like, oh, well, they had a late earnings call. There had to have been something in the call. Well, now it's catching a bid up 1.5% today, and they're raving about it. Put up $1.80 EPS. They had some goodwill write-offs to make that GAAP EPS 292. That is not. I would take more in consideration of that 184. That's the non-GAAP without those extra incentive write-offs in there. I went and just skimmed through it. That's the way that I took it. But then you look at GM. $1.90, $1.82. We look at the previous quarter. $2, $1.70 gap. Look at the next quarter over $2, $1.40 gap. Look at the next quarter over $2, $2.25 gap. This trades at 1/5 of the price of Walmart. You don't hear many people raving about GM. You don't see people saying, "Oh, look at this dandy of a trend line too." By the way, but look at I mean, from the earnings report, we're up at 39, beaten down, and we are very, very interested. Uh, I just see that consistency, and people will be like, "Oh, they only pay a 9% dividend." It's literally not even a percent, not even 1% of their, maybe it is like 4 or 5% actually of their total cash flow that they're bringing in, which tells me, hey, a lot of room for increases, a lot of excess cash that's going onto their books, leaving more room for share buybacks, and I think they're buying back fairly priced stock. So we are going to be playing this trend line for GM and Ford. You can see the similarities of why we like this trend line on Ford. I mean, same story. 72 of non-GAAP, 50 cents of GAAP, so a 5-to-1 basically at the current price that they're trading at. We're saying that if they can compound that quarter after quarter, um, we are interested in this for a long-term position. And we still have not had a reload in on Ford yet. We've been extremely patient. We talked about this gap. Well, red engulfing to it. We didn't like it. And also this gap was that same day. Traded sideways a little bit. Well, we are interested in these middle 11s, but this trend line is what we are going to be looking for. Uh, maybe not the most popular, but we also have the top end of the downtrend. I just think long term that it's something that could possibly work for me. Baba, Baba, we are in that range where the company was buying back that stock. Their average stock buyback the last 2 quarters now is in these upper 80s. So right in this range, I'd say you have a $16.3 billion share repurchase program for the company. That is on your side. We also have a solid start to a channel. I'd still like to see a little bit more information, but really setting up this breakout over top of this, call it a neckline. If we confirm some higher lows here, I'm going to be very bullish if we see Baba start catching a bid. But projected $2 for the next quarter to put up 240, 190 gap. You compound $2 a quarter. That's $8 a EPS. We're looking at 10 years, pay off this investment. I think with the share buybacks, that is also a catalyst to boost their EPS. You got stimulus talks in China. We'll see if that can get it going. And I will say something to you. There is a lot of propaganda with China. There is definitely also a lot of risk with China. But why I say propaganda is because people will try to build a story to persuade you of your viewpoint of this. And the big viewpoint that's going on right now is the population. I have people, that'll ask me about it and they'll say, "Well, the population is decreasing." Well, yes, it is. It is. But that is where the propaganda starts. I'm going to pull over an article for you because this is what I showed somebody. He's like, "Okay, that kind of makes sense." We're going to type into just a browser. We're going to type in working population estimates for China through 2050. That's what we typed into our browser. We're going to go to statista.com. There's a very interesting interview. I can find it for you if you're interested. He comes out with this interview in 2019. He's basically goes to something similar of this site, and he says, China is going to have that working population, and he calls it out on the interview that 2023 is when it is estimated to bottom. When have you really started hearing? And you could say working population isn't the isn't talking about the population in general, but the population I care about is the population that is actually working in the country. So if we're looking at 2023 as a bottom, this is going to be set 4 years before we even start seeing it top again. We're making such a big short-term decision with it right here in the middle of 2023. Yes, it's going to have this steady decline, but even to 2050, we're looking at 27 years ahead, and they're still going to have over double the working population of the total population of the United States. The way I look at it is if there is more demand for jobs, that also is opportunity. With bad, you always got to try and find, okay, where is the opportunity in this set of bad news? The good positive that I would say, if there is more demand for workers in China because of the decrease in working population, that means increased wages. That means your population is going to have more money to spend. So, for people to pinpoint only the negatives while we're possibly at the lows for the working population in the short term over the next 4 or 5 years, you're also not calculating in, okay, the demand for jobs potentially could mean increased wages, and it really won't even make too much of a difference. So I mean, yes, and there is negatives that come in with a decreasing population, of course, and there is political risk with China. But if you're looking at valuation wise, here's the tech. I mean, Apple, it slightly turned green now, but here's your tech. Continues to get beaten down. Tuesday, before I went on vacation, this day right here. How many times did we talk about this gap fill at 1670? Hey, we said, hey, it's not able to fill it. Gaps up. Hey, it's not even able to fill this gap. We went on vacation. We said, I'm expecting the NASDAQ. I said, do not be surprised if you see a NASDAQ short up here at 28 before you know it. Look at the strength. Clean positive break on increased volume. 2 pullback days into that downtrend. Each level, you could say, up, coming up to the neckline. Should see some resistance. You see a little pullback. Up, coming into the gap. Or that was actually a gap fill. So here's your gap fill. Let's mark it. Let's go through this whole thing. Boom, fills the gap, pulls back. Well, mark that level out. Up, we go up to the next level, the next gap. Okay, a little sell off. Okay, now up to the downtrend. Now breaking the downtrend. Now coming into the first set of lows, catching a little bit of rejection. Who's to say that in a couple days this NASDAQ short doesn't take out 22s? And then before you know it, we're talking about this gap and also these lows. That's up at 25. Then before you know it, we're talking about it at 28. Then before you know it, we're talking about it up at the gap. It's like, when does it stop? This is the first time over the year. Let's just go to the NASDAQ index. If you're trading strictly off of strength right here, strictly off strength. Positive break coming in at June 14th, I believe. June 13th. I was off by one day, a couple days. July 11th. You get your positive break. It runs up a little bit more, trying to run for this gap. Doesn't quite get there. Trades back in.
comes slightly negative a little bit, but reclaims it, takes out the highs, fills the gap, and a retest of the high of the original positive break. Now, when does our strength go negative? We have one tiny day where it could have washed out some longs right there. Strength stays negative. Big players, I always say it, big players are on that middle ground, short and long. So this could have easily been stopped in its tracks on this day. Well, clearly the long worked out. When's our next negative break? Boom, right here. Big players are at that middle ground, right? Where's our negative break? Right here. It's trying to hold these lows. You gap down below these lows. Yes, it trades up a little bit more, but then you also have, sort of a tight channel being built in right here. This is the same sort of channel we have marked on our NASDAQ short. And you can see giving up the trend line and clear weakness in the market. So I mean, man, I'm rambling, Drift. You know how I do things, just rambling along. But all in all, we do like some longs. Like I said, we do hold all these companies long. Enphase, probably percentage wise the worst one. We have not tried it yet. We are adding and averaging down yet because strength just isn't there. But if we get down into these 120s and in particular those upper teens right there, we're gonna try it. An add to that Nasdaq is Drift. I know you've been around the channel a long time. How long were we preaching oil in these 60s? Now I'm not saying that means that I'm right. That doesn't mean that I'm a genius. But this is when tech was just shooting through the moon. Shooting through the moon. Everyone was sitting there like, dude, why are you trading oil? Why are you trading oil and not tech? Because oil was buying back shares or allocating their capital to their investors. They were still putting up good margins, 40 to 60% gross down here in the 60s. And we said, hey, we like oil down here. Now oil, a clean positive break, showing higher highs, higher lows on the commodity, breaking through the downtrend, giving a bull flag, still holding strength. Where this was a clear trend change, where we said on the NASDAQ, giving up these lows, double top, giving up the lows right. These lows, boom, breaking down and rejecting to the top end. We said this is a clear trend change to the downside. Which one would I feel more comfortable putting my capital in? Tech names or oil? And we have not trimmed any oil. We were just holding the oil. We were holding the oil for the strength until oil starts flirting back down here in this negative. Well, then we're coming into support in my eyes. I think the big players around this middle ground right here. I think oil is a great place to a safer area to have your capital allocated at the moment. Personal opinion. Obviously, I am not perfect. But I'm done rambling about that. And take a drink of water. That reminds me, I do got to take a look at the schedule for the day, see what time I got to go in. Still expecting rejection off of these 25s, wicking up towards it. I just want to see some sort of hold of this trend line right here. You can see the trend line we have marked, and even so, we have a little bit of a backup with the longer term trend line. That is what we're saying we want to see a hold, and we have a 712 gap that has not been filled yet. So as long as it holds around this area, we will hold it in the red. And not looking to make any rash decisions. If you recall back to when we were trading Ford, I started my position on Ford in the red significantly. We started at this nut up or shut up candle. We said, hey, over 1175 was our first initial add. And then we actually added some more on that day. We added more at 1150. We added more at 1130s. We added more at 1127s. And we added more right off the gap at 1125. Got a wick low fill. And we trimmed this all the ways up to 15. So we held that position for this trend line significantly down into the red. So when I'm playing these swing trades, to an outside eye, they're like, dude, you're in the red. What are you doing? It's
just the way of building a swing trade sometimes is, having a highly conviction out where Ford, looking over here, my out I was talking at the time was underneath 11. We were saying, hey, we still have one gap fill at 10.95, and once we get down there, okay, let's think about an out down here where for our first shares bought, that's a whole dollar out of the money. So in terms of actual trades, when the market is weak, it's tough for me to, when I'm building off of strength. When I trade off of strength, it's hard for me to um, find stuff that I like. If I was looking at the top movers of the day, I'm sure you would say, oh, top. Oh, it's pumping. Strength still negative 47. G and S is actually a reasonable maybe look, and there's been a lot of volume coming in this. Maybe this was something that we could have played. But AGen, still negative strength. BCI is one that we were interested around this 4. Just doesn't have volume. No volume. He just got put on the map today from H&H. Strength just isn't there. Just paid a dividend. I'm not looking to force myself into anything. DLB, higher. It does have decent volume for $85 stock. Good volume and a nice slow churn to the upside. Okay, great. 10x. This is one that we were watching yesterday on a positive break. Has the ascending channel look, but trading up here at the top end of the channel. Is that something that we want to try? I don't know. TUP holding strength, gave up the levels. Wasn't able to get down to the 188 gap, 190 gap. Okay. IMPP, weak name. CRKN, weak name. Bloom, this was one that we would have been interested had it been a nice slow churn, maybe a retest of these highs. Maybe there's something there. I don't know. EIGR, strength is getting close. Volume's not there. Only 130K volume. Bill, we said we want this down at the neckline and the 80 gap. Not there. EYPT, continuation meme. Maybe that's something there. But just light volume. So all the top movers on the day, it's like, which one would you like me to trade? There's nothing that I'm really seeing that I like, honestly, if I'm just being honest. But the BTI fills yesterday had some good long-term ads. If it comes back in, we're buying the gap. Discover, we've been talking about Discover quite often. Nice green candle coming in, playing before the dividend. I do not think this is the low. Strength is not there, but we like the value on this name. We think this 90 level is a monster level. We're okay buying that. PayPal, giving up the lows. Strength isn't there. We're talking yesterday how we would be interested off 57.50. Well, it opened right there. It was tough to have the confidence with a big gap down on a lot of names to say, hey, 57.50, we like it. So maybe if it comes back into that range, maybe that's something that we can try. But these middle 55s, we can go back over to the daily. This is the level that I want right here. The flat top at 55, the gap at 54.75, and the gap at 54s. That is where we are going to be hammering the PayPal long. And if it wants to come back in further, we're going to rinse and repeat that same strategy, holding it $11 out of the money. But we think we're getting fair value for our dollar, even at current price that it's at right now. But at 55, I think that's really good value. And down here in these middle 44s, I think is extremely good value. Of course, Warner Bros. We had some ads in F13. We're on the bid at 1250s today. 1250s, low of the day, 1253. Missed by 3 pennies. So we had two names that we just barely missed fills on today. So could be raving about more, but there is weakness in the market, so maybe we'll get that later on. Geo, kind of a false wick. Strength isn't there, but this is a name that we're looking to just see hold 7. If it can do so, great. If not, great. But you can see the bull flag that had now sideways consolidation. Has a neckline here at 710 that it broke early in the day.
Disney, just a nice hold at that 85 level. You know, setting up the flat bottom break. Actually, I would say I would be bearish on this. Setting up the flat bottom break. But I like the value of Disney. You know, maybe it needs to come down into the 70s. You know, and this previous nice flat top break right here at 67.50 looks pretty good. So maybe we're holding some of these names into a weak market. Yes, I agree. But I like the names. I like the way the portfolio is doing. Kind of a mixed bag. Uh, the biggest red name, of course, would be Baba. But there's nothing that's going to change my conviction on Baba. Personally, just being honest. Devin, we said on the live stream we were thinking about moving that 48 good till cancel order up to 48.50. Look at that open. Would have got triggered right out the open. Would have been $1.20 in the money, and we would have been holding this for a long time. Oil, Nasdaq's kind of in the crapper. Well, I'm catching a little bit of a bid since the open, but oil up 1.25%. Looks pretty darn good if you ask me. NVAX just trading sideways. I would expect this candle to probably close as some sort of indecision, but next week, if we get that 750 reclaim and then break over top of 762, I think NVAX is going to be primed, ready to go. If it can put a fourth green candle of volume in, we got 10 minutes left. Maybe there's something there, but probably not adding any more to NVAX today. And it's possible that I am off today. It's possible. If that's the case, I'm gonna go make some lunch and I'll be back. And maybe we can find something back half of the day. We're just not seeing anything as of right now. Oops, my bad. My dog unplugged one of my monitors. But yeah, drift. Other than that, there hasn't been anything that we've really seen. Just waiting for some limit orders to fill, and probably not gonna get any fills until we put something else in. Multiple wicks up to those 723s. Ripley, stop. Stop. We just went outside. Yep, out, 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 out. Get, 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 get. Yeah, you're okay. I'll pet you. How about that? You're okay, puppy. Yeah, boring day, Drift. Boring day. Wish I had something that we were trading for you. NVAX into this 717. Let's watch and see if this trend line gets any type of buying. Let's go look at the tape here. Let's go ahead and try and put this order in for 712s. I really don't think let's just go right here at these 715s. Let's try and add here on this, and we'll give it this trend line here. Let's look at HBI. Yeah, boring. Boring day. NVAX up to 717. So showing a little bit of a wick right there. We just gave it a try. See if there's any legitimacy to this trend line here or not. Hey, it's tough now that the markets are going down. I guess we are in the recession. Oh no, I disagree, Drift. This is just the tip of the iceberg of what could happen. You know, bear with me when I say this, but I'm not kidding when I have these marks up here. This is just the tip of the iceberg. This is just the beginning. This is day number 2 of a trend line crack. The trend line that's been holding the entire year. Uh, maybe recession is the right term. I don't really add too much weight to that. I just if we're talking about a single day or a single week or a couple weeks or maybe even a half a year, uh, if more people want to buy or if more liquidity is bought at a particular price, then the price will go up. If more liquidity is bought or I meant sold at a particular price, the price will go down. If you're looking at a time frame of the next 5 years, let's just go over to the Nasdaq. I think it will be 5 to 10 years before this top is ever taken out. You know, it might false wick, but I actually think that this low gets taken out before this top gets taken out. Personal opinion. Yeah, bear with you. Yeah, I wouldn't be throwing recession talk down until we give out this low. That is when I'll be like, yeah, happy 2023, or we'll say 2024. I would not be surprised to see the market actually retest this top right here, where you can see maybe sort of like that, kind of have a false break of it. But I would say uh, I wouldn't be surprised to see it follow this for a long time, and then we're looking at like 20. We're looking way out. We're looking up at like maybe like 2026 to 2030 before it takes out that high. So you know, you ain't gotta be worried about me. I am, some would say, an ultra bear. But if you're looking at valuation, sometimes I do this. I'm not gonna hold it to strict weight, but I'll just type in the Warren Buffett indicator. Warren Buffett indicator valuation model. We'll just click this one. We'll pull this over and we'll zoom in for it. Overvalued. Oh, what did I do? Refresh the page. Overvalued. Strongly overvalued. Undervalued. 19. Last time we were undervalued. 2020, you could say. No, it's 2008. 2020 was just this little blip right here. This little blip down. Clear overvaluation. Clear. And still very strongly overvalued. Now, I'm not holding this. This isn't the reason why I'm bearish. The reason why I'm bearish is more into like a valuation model. If we're projecting a percent of growth for the United States, right? And we're looking at, and that's through 2024, a percent of GDP growth. If I'm looking at the premium that I want to pay for that, I'm looking at paying maybe a 10 to 14 PE for that. If it's something that I really like and I'm trying to add a premium, maybe I'll push that 10 up to like a 14. I'll push that 14 up to maybe a 20 PE that I'd be willing to pay for it. Let's just type in the IXIC. Nope, can't type in indexes. Let's just go QQQ. Dun, 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 the PE for the QQQ trades at 30 right now. Let's type in the SPY. SPY trades at 21. Okay, that's a little bit better. Let's type in the DGI. What's the Dow? What's the Dow equivalent? The Dow Jones Industrial ETF trades at 20. So maybe if I'm looking at paying a premium, a higher premium, okay, maybe so. But you're looking at the NASDAQ trading at a 30, and when it was trading up here near this little top, it was probably trading at like a 35 to 40. And I'm looking to pay a 10 to 14. Okay, a premium will go in the middle at 15. It's just not there. It's not there in my eyes. And maybe that doesn't mean that, hey, we got to go down here and take out these lows. Okay, maybe that's being a little extreme. But, a pullback, I would say, is necessary. And looking at the weekly, your weekly strength is still there. If you're looking at a positive break, it was that little blip right there where, boom, you get that extension, you retest the highs. If I was being that 28 on the NASDAQ short is this flat top on the NASDAQ, so that is where I'm going to be looking to take some profits off of that short. But all in all, I do agree. I do think the market is overvalued. NVAX. Fill in this 712. Now let's just go get one more ad on this, and then we're going to have a hard stop underneath the 7 and just stop the bleeding on this name. We're just gonna see these 12s try the hold right here. And maybe this needs to be set more so like that. We'll go through those lows. But I am going to give this trend line one little bit. Let's just clear out everything. Let's just go ahead and do one last order off of this name. And this is probably the last order that we have for NVAX. I'm not going to play around with it any more than what we have. And they're catching a slight 1 penny bid. But that is a 712 gap fill. We'll see if there is any weight to this whatsoever. This kind of is starting to get close to discrediting the low, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low. So do got to be careful with it. But this is just that little bitty trend line. I would say this is more so the trend line that we're looking to see hold. So this is why we're giving it to 7. We're going to try and give this trend line a chance, but it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. So yeah, I'm a terrible trader. Oops. Let's pull this back over here. But if everything went accordingly to plan, then, one second, I'm having a hard time, then life would be easy. I agree. If everything went according to plan, then that is very well said. If you don't mind, I'm gonna steal that from you. I'm gonna use that for myself. That's very well said, Drift. If everything went according to plan, life would be easy. I like that. That's a really good saying. There's 7-Elevens. Man, this given that more continuation to the downside is what it looks like. We're 750 reject. Man, is there something that I'm missing here? I really just don't want to get shook out of this. And then before we know it, it's popping to the upside. I feel I have partial conviction here. Partial. But I would say definitely looking like a short. Below the wick low of yesterday. This is where these trend lines always seem to get you. NASDAQ is showing some rejection, or the NASDAQ short. The NQ showing a green candle. Even a nice body into those previous highs right there. You know, this was the previous high. This is the next high. So is it safe to say that You know, maybe this is a support level that can try and trade sideways and hold, and then we catch a U-shape sort of formation, and tough to say. You don't really have a clean channel by any means. I gotta make a call into work. I gotta make sure that I don't have to work today. I'll be right back, Drift. Well, I'll be gosh darn. We are off today. So looks like we may have a little bit of extended stream. You guys can watch me sit here in a little bit of pain on this NVAX. Is it gonna get any buyers off of this? It really doesn't look like it is. Increasing volume to the downside, and here is 707. So let's go ahead and get this stop out here. Oh man, right into these lows is tough. I'm tempted to just try a deep stop on this name. But, I mean, through this longer term trend line that we have marked right here as well, down 4% on the day. Does this catch anything? Still have 3 hours and 18 seconds left. Is this going to be able to show me anything? Size on the ask. Not a good look. Looking to push down. Probably test those sevens. Really giving the look like it wants to break down. Decisions. Hmm. 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 There is huge size on the ask right now. 950 lots on the ask, really trying to just hammer this thing down. Is it worth it? Is it worth it? It is really trying to get me to just cut it. And that size is taking off, so I don't know if somebody just removed their order or if the tape was actually going through right there. Let's look and see what the volume is like on this candle. And there's that same size, so 700 or 950 lots on 710. That is very scary to look at. And was able to take that out. Trying to hold back to that with 11 seconds left. As long as it was able to get rid of that 950 lots, thank the Lord. That really would have gave the look of ugly. Actually getting some size climbing up on the bid, but still going to expect some rejection of this 17 and then also the 25s. Devin tapped slightly, making my position a green position. If it does test up the 717, 716, maybe even 715s, when it comes back down in here, is it a kind of a frowny face that's going to crack this? There we go. Hmm. Alrighty. NVAX still sitting in around these 712, which is the gap, and up to 713. So trying to hold 715s. Whew. That's what I need to see right here, Drift. Sometimes just don't even worry about it. Just look away. Close your eyes. You know what I'm saying? Good Lord. Thank you for giving me a little relief bid. I mean, Soundhound yesterday was same story. I mean, we had double trend lines on Soundhound yesterday and just no buying. Where are I mean, are people looking at the same thing as me? That's what I keep asking myself. I mean, I can see the catalyst for a flat bottom break, but a straight knife from 750, which is getting close to that breakout level, and then right back into the trend line. I mean, you can't tell me there wasn't somebody that was in long here off of these sevens or this trend line over the last 4 of the last 7 days, and they weren't taking profits off 750 and reloading it in here. I mean, I just don't believe it. I just don't buy it. So let's hold this effing trend line and just hold it. I don't want it to shoot up on a straight line. This is not the type of play we're looking for. But we put that wick up to that 17. You know, got as high as 16 right there, the previous low. Probably going to end up coming back in. I'm expecting some shorts to come in or some selling pressure to come in on this little red move. But let's trade sideways. You know, if it builds that frowny face, let's see a hold of 708, and let's see this trend start changing. Jesus. You gotta be kidding me right now. I'm gonna refill my coffee. I'm gonna have you. Yeah, man. I know, right, Drift? I mean, geez, is it too much to ask for? I mean, I really don't think this is really all that bad. Coming right back into a solid support level and finally getting a little bit of a wick, but still that selling pressure. Let's see if it can hold this level. You know, honestly, if I had to bet, I'd say it's gonna break it down, but I mean, I'm betting that it's going to hold it, but I mean, if I was actually betting somebody and I had my pride on the line, I would say that it's going to break it down, which is absolute nuts. But looking at it from this perspective, you know, that channel is kind of discredited. Maybe something like this. But I mean, this just mapping out those tops, so maybe I just don't know, man. I'd say that's the best way to set it. So we'll see if that can hold. The Devon now officially back in the green. We still only have that one fill on the name. I think it was on one of these candles right here at 49.96. So finally getting back in the green. No averages in. We were on the tape or on the bid at 48 flats, and I talked yesterday on the live stream saying, hey, this gap fill at 48.54. Let's move that order up. Well, I didn't, unfortunately. But NVAX here at this 716, so I'm gonna go refill my coffee. I do not have to work today, so I'm maybe live streaming all day, and we'll see if we can find something else that we like, or maybe I'll go get some lunch and we'll just regroup on Monday. I don't know. We'll decide. But let's go refill this coffee. What is it, puppy? You want to get a treat? Oh yeah, that got his attention. Last cup that I had brewed, second cup of coffee today. You know, I like my coffee a brown, not a light brown, a brown, not black, not dark brown, brown, with a little dash of sugar. And if I had vanilla, I'd put a little bit of vanilla in it. So a little dash of sugar, not too much, just a little bit. Mix it up. Alright, yeah, I did say you wanted a treat. Whoa, look at this. What do I got right here? Yeah, you've been a good dog, good boy.
Yeah, good dog. He gets spoiled. Especially he's gonna get spoiled today that I don't have to go into work. We holding the fort down here. I see 717s. Tap those 718s. That is what we like to see. All right, I know you've been just hanging in, and I haven't been ranting on giving you that entertainment you like to see. PWM, I'd say a name with light volume. You want to talk about a new IPO that has the sustainability, in my opinion. 100% gross margins all comes from transactions from higher price customers over in Asia. They operate at 66% operating margins, 64% profit margins, 55% free cash flow margins. A very unique IPO. You don't see IPOs like this that have those type of margins. Just being completely honest. I've looked at a lot of different IPOs. A lot of them are just crap. Just just terrible. I mean, just awful. Like they operate negative 400, 500%. When you're looking at a high gross margin type of business, eventually eventually somebody's going to put some high amount of capital into this name, whether it happens here, whether it happens down here, whether it happens down here. Eventually somebody's going to look at these books and say, "Yep, boom," and they are going to whale themselves in. So PWM, we have been keeping an eye on it, and this gap isn't set perfectly. But at that 550 level, we are gonna we are gonna try it. Very light volume. I mean, if we look over, you can see even on this knife has been fairly light volume every single day. But up 8%, you know, that could be the start of something. I would expect a lot of eyes off of that gap, though. Personal opinion. Looking at NVAX, that is, now let's just clear everything. We'll go right back to it. Now, if it closed the candle of the day with this type of indecision, you know, I would expect probably tomorrow or on Monday a wick back down into this range. Now, we still have 3 hours left, but as long as it shows me that wick of buying pressure, trying to hold these sevens, that will be enough for me to try and hold it. Just try, keyword try. That doesn't mean that it's not going to gap down and get that continuation move. But this is a good start. Jeez, man, it really had me pulling my hair out there for a second. I thought I was going crazy. I mean, we got fills up in 40 flats. We got fills in the 30s, the 20s, the teens, and then we got fills at I believe it was an 11, a 7-11 fill. So I mean, coming into a shortable level here, is this 21 going to keep getting respected? It claims it, it gives it up, reject, reject, reject. Are we going to reject again? Not really the most amount of volume and showing a slight rejection off the start. Now the same way that to this red move to the downside, I really would love to see some buying come in the middle of this green candle. Nothing's better than those first sips of coffee of a fresh pot. Nothing beats it. TUP, we said, um, nice little setup right here. Has the descending channel. Are we going to be setting up to break this? NVAX, that is what we want to see. A nice start of the buying. Now, still has some crucial levels to get through. But let's start with a test up to 725. We can see a test up, and you know, maybe just these wick tops up here, where then you know maybe give that inverse head and shoulders look. I wouldn't until it puts a wick to exactly 23. You know, if it only wicks up to 722s, I ain't buying it. If it goes up to 725s, I'll take that. But I gotta see at least 723 for me to even think it's possible that this is gonna be some sort of inverse head and shoulders. So all in all, I would say um,
There's 719s coming in through the tape. MPW, talk about a knife. Whew. Good thing we got out on a negative break. I don't even know why. I still have part of the dividend that just seen that in my portfolio. Talk about a knife. INPX. No volume on the day. It does have a little bit of volume. See what this is looking like. Setting up a neckline break. One more leg down to that 17 flat. Maybe something there. Down 4% on the day though. So I mean, take that with a grain of salt. NVAX up to those 721s. Whew. Let me see 723s. Put one slight wick up to there. Let's take a look over at WBA. Getting hammered. Paid its dividend today. Giving a continuation to the downside. 20. NVAX still trying to hold 720s. Mm. Showing that sort of, so no tap of those 723s, so possibly some sort of descending channel, tighter channel like that on top of something like that. So showing that, hey, we could potentially be going back down here to test. So honestly, if I really just wanted to get out of the name, that candle could have been the one. But not terrible. Not terrible. Take a look at Bank of America. NVAX. 6 minutes left. I start showing a wick into the middle of that. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Drift. Wick right up to that 60 level on Allison. Has not been able to give it up yet. Wicking into those previous lows. And NVAX right back into 7-Elevens. On a full red candle. Wicking into the shortable level of those 720s. Is this going to be something that starts to catch a bid? Probably not. Let's go see what the tape's looking like here on NVAX. Are we going to have some buyers that try to hold this level again? 66 lots on the bid, which is higher than usual, so maybe there is some hope still. Check out Bitcoin. Oh, my bad, Drift. I'll do that here. Give me just a second. Bitcoin, yeah, gladly. I know strength was clearly given up yesterday, for sure. Coming on into a level, this is what I've been saying. Let me give you a backstory of what I think Bitcoin has in store for it. See that W pattern? Boom, boom, boom. There's your left leg, neckline, right bottom, extended right leg. What makes an extended right leg? As soon as it gets over top of that 20,000, to be exact, as soon as it got over that 20,000, we'll say, that is an extended right leg. With the extended right leg, I'm telling myself, let's mark that neckline. Now, this is an interesting neckline because it doesn't have 2 points of contact there. There's your 2 points of contact, and there's your 3 points of contact. So we have 1, we have 1, 2, we have 1, 2, 3. That is my neckline right there. One day, Bitcoin is going to backtest the neckline. Boom. Pretty damn close. This is the first time all year, you could say that this is your trend line that we're testing into right now. But if I was mapping that out just for the bottom wicks, like that, why did this huge red day come in yesterday? I would say that's a clear trend line give. And your strength, let's say you were playing strength, right? Uh, it's trying to hold these lows. Let's just map out these lows. So we put this wick low right here. It's trying to hold these lows. Where's your negative break come? Boom. As soon as you get that negative break, you put your stop loss in. You could have got stopped out on this day. Very well could have. But now that after you see that wick, if I'm looking for a clear out playing this support level, my out is underneath that. When did it hop red? Shoom. So to me, I just look at this as, more people or more liquidity was willing to be sold at this point right here than bought. We go over to the 15-minute. Shoom tries to get bought up. Shoom as soon as it takes out that low. See that? Has a couple wicks to try and hold it when it can't. Shoom! Look at that red volume that comes in. Same thing with this low. Tries to hold. Shoom! Straight to the downside. So all I see right here is a trend line just got broken. Clearly a weak name. Is there going to be some areas that it gives nice little pops? Well, you have some support levels built in right here. You have your previous high that had really good action, so I'd say 25 flat. You could see it give some sort of a relief rally. But I would say that this is going to be the start of some sort of clear trend change. And if I had to guess, I would say possible retest of this neckline all the ways down here. That might sound extreme, but all I'd be looking for from this support down here is a pop, a test of the lows, maybe another pop, a test of the lows, maybe another pop, and then a shoom. Huge stop losses coming in off 15 to give that true test of our first, second, and third neckline. That is my opinion. I'm just a guy. I'm crazy. I have crazy theories. But, I think this neckline gets tested. Whether whether it happens this year, next year, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Maybe this goes and runs up and sets a new all-time high. Who knows? One day, that neckline is getting tested in some way, shape, or form. And if it never does, well, then I'm never in it. I can't lose money. I can't lose money from it. It affects me in zero way, shape, or form. So if I'm wrong, nothing happens. If I'm right, I have a potential opportunity to potentially buy a low on Bitcoin that has locked supply. And maybe Bitcoin has, some other benefits with it. I don't know. Maybe there's smart contracts that can be made that can alter the supply. And honestly, I think it would be tied to the miners. I believe the miners are the people that have the ability to vote that type of and here's my theory now. Now I'm not an expert on Bitcoin, but the miners are the ones that make money from mining Bitcoin, right? They are also in control of altering the contract to change the supply. So if they were put in a scenario where, hey, we can make more money from mining it if we alter this way of how Bitcoin works, we're in control of it. Let's try and do that. Just a crazy theory, but not something that I want to put my trust in if the miners have that much control of it. So, not maybe just a crazy theory, but not my cup of tea. But down here at this neckline, I would potentially think about buying one single Bitcoin, no more than one. I'd just try it with one. Uh, and if it came down all the way to 4,000, maybe something there as well. But let's add some more crazy theories into Bitcoin. This double bottom in 2017, shoom, take that low. Whoa, it's almost like you take this little crazy tool, you mark the top of the move to the bottom of the move, and the price just runs all the ways up to the top. And then after it gets to the top, it goes all the ways back down. I'm just kidding, Drift. I'm just being a smartass right now. But yes, I was extremely bearish, and I was just saying how crazy it is that it's holding up at the tops right here, and for it to be a neckline type of trade. I have been a bear of crypto and Bitcoin. I do own crypto, very small portion. I chalk that up in the box of speculation, and speculation never gets to more than 5% of my total holdings. So yes, I do have some crypto. Yes, my crypto holdings are down. Yes, yesterday did not do any favors to my crypto holdings as Bitcoin gave up pretty good support. But I do believe that there is very good positives to crypto. Is it the future? Possibly it is. I don't think it's set in stone which ones are going to be the future. Kind of like the dot-com boom, it was never set in stone which you got your Amazons, you got your Googles. It was never set in stone that they were going to be the clear winners. There was all kinds of companies in that era that failed, and I think that is going to be the case of crypto. There's going to be all kinds of cryptos that fail. If you can find one that is going to be around 20 years from now, I think you will do very good. I think you will do very good. Right now, I also think that, so keep in mind this picture right here. Let's go over to the Dow Jones. I believe the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ are very similar. Here's your 2020. We got to go back even further. Here's your 2007. So at the same time Bitcoin had that full extension, let's just pull this all the ways over. All the ways over. Let's go to a weekly chart here. Oh, you use this little funky tool from the top of the move to the bottom move, and you kind of just make a huge run all the ways to the top of the extension, and then you have this sort of sell-off. So I think it will be some time before we see, maybe we get this trend line that I have marked in on the Dow. Maybe that is a catalyst for it to push up to the top. But I'm expecting this trend line to give up, and I'm expecting maybe a retest all the ways back down to the COVID lows, which I know sounds crazy, but Bitcoin meaning up towards the top of the extension, the same time the Dow. Let's go over to the NQ. Look at this. Left leg, neckline, right bottom, extended right leg as soon as it gets over top of that dot-com boom. Oh, let's take this fib tool. Whoa, it's almost like you use this little fib tool. You take a huge, large drop, and it just makes a run all the way to the top of the extension, and then crazy shit starts happening. It's crazy. But this is why, I said that, I think that it's going to take out the lows before it takes out the highs. Maybe it has this washout top and test up the 18K. But the back test of the neckline on the NASDAQ, I don't think this would happen. I really would be absolutely shocked if this happened. But the back test of the neckline on the NASDAQ is 2250. Well, there is clear valuation changes where, looking at Bitcoin, I don't know how to value Bitcoin. I don't have earnings or valuation metrics of how I could possibly value Bitcoin. Whereas technology, the Nasdaq can change its holdings and change how the portfolio sizing is. So this is what kind of discredits that of saying, oh yeah, this is gonna backtest the neckline. No, I'm not. I'm not that bearish on the market. I mean, give me a little bit of credit here, Drift. I'm not that bearish. But if it did happen, for whatever reason, I think there would need to be some sort of world war and collapse, absolute collapse of the stock market. Uh, but if it did come down to right here, you best believe Reliable Rudy is going to be buying. Let's just put it that way. But then just mapping out the SPY, we'll go over to the SPY as well. We'll take this same '08 and .com boom drop, and the SPY actually was the single one that discredited. It's almost like, yeah, you run this tool from top of the move, bottom of the move, you get this huge run to the full extension, and look at the short-term top that we have, putting some wicks into that top extension. So, I mean, is this drop enough to credit a full extension? I don't know. I don't know. But just taking that COVID drop right there, if I was looking at an extension point for if they did start taking out the highs, I'd say 7,200. We go over to the Dow. Let me just click out of everything. We go over to the Dow, maybe 66,000, which would be an absolute pump. We go over to the NASDAQ, where the NASDAQ 1950, where we look at this, meets up pretty well off that 17.5. But yeah, a couple funky for Bitcoin value based on supply and its technology. But where's the cash flow? Uh, where is the So when I'm looking at evaluation, yes, I understand the supply, but based off supply, the market cap is only determined by uh, the cost times the supply equals the market cap. So Bitcoin, we go back over to it. It's what 20? What's it at? 25,700. You times that by the supply. That's where you get the market cap. Value of similar metrics for Forex. I don't know enough about that to really talk with much conviction. All I know is that if I'm looking at, let's go to the Discover Financial. We'll go pull over some financials over here. Look at the financials. Let's just go over to the cash flow statement. I'm pretty much banking in that, hey, I can mark them down for at least 5 billion in cash flow. Uh, the cash flow, what type of distribution is going to back to the shareholders, where you look at, if I wanted to go the shares outstanding, I can bank them in for buying back about 6% of their company every single year. So looking out 5 years in advance, I'm looking at 20 to 30% of their shares outstanding is going to be cut down. Okay, basing that off of the market cap of the company, if they're valued at 25 billion, you can take the decrease of 20% of shares outstanding and map that to the market cap. So maybe if that's what you're doing with Bitcoin, maybe, but where is that cash flow coming from to allow them to be able to buy back that shares? I don't see how Bitcoin brings in any type of cash flow. Maybe from the transactions. But then you add in, you have a large increase uh, of other cryptocurrencies out there that can do it better than Bitcoin. You look at the transaction cost of one single transaction on Bitcoin. I think the last time I checked is like 40 something dollars or 50 something dollars. Where you look at Ethereum, the cost of a total transaction is maybe $2 to $5. You look at the cost on the Cosmos ecosystem, you're looking at fractions of a penny. You look at Solana, you're looking at fractions of a penny. There is a huge uh, influx into this crypto, and they're using this sort of blockchain technology, and it just keeps getting better and better and better. So to say even Bitcoin is going to be able to survive, I don't know. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't.
But at the end of the day, I have no financials to go into and say, oh yeah, this is how much debt they have. This is how much cash flow they're bringing in. You're looking at the revenue. This is how much revenue increase I can bake into some sort of valuation metric. And at the end of the day, if I can't go off of the cash flow that they're bringing in, it's tough for me personally to pinpoint a value on something. So that's where when you're not able to do those things, we'll go back over the Bitcoin. At the end of the day, do more people want to buy than sell? Or is more liquidity bought than sold? Is more liquidity bought and sold? You go strictly to the charting where you just put this simple little tool in. Do more people want to buy than sell, or is more liquidity bought and sold? Is more liquidity bought and sold? It's That's all it is. It's one big voting machine that is determining what happens. The price from yesterday dropping like this, you can't say valuation was taken into account. You cannot tell me valuation was taken into account for Bitcoin when it gives up these lows and you see stops. And when you're talking about somebody has a big position in right here, and he said to himself, yeah, if it gets under here, I do not want to lose any more money from, I maybe sold some up here, maybe I reloaded some in here. If it gets underneath right here, I'm out. When you have that type of control baked into a security, I just don't know how you pinpoint a valuation on it. So for me, that puts it into speculation. I talked about speculation a little bit ago. I'm not letting speculation get more than 5% because I can't control it. It's not something that I can say and oh, I have the conviction right here. This is a sure thing. DFS, Discover Financial, as long as nothing changes, this could drop down to 55 for all I care. I still have the same conviction down here as I do up here. And that is that it is an undervalued asset because I can physically go in and calculate the math. 350, 350, 370, 350, $4, $4, 350, 350, 550, 550. If I can bake them in for 350 a quarter, let's just do that. Now they do have compliance. They do have increased capex for the law firm that they're using. So let's say maybe 350. They're not able to put up 350. We'll go 3. I can pretty much bake them in for $3 of earnings a share. Plus, they're once they initiate their buyback of over 20% of the total shares outstanding over the next 2 years. That is going to help that EPS. So this is a very conservative type of model that I'm baking in right here. And this is not set in stone by any means, but 4 quarters times 3, that's $12. We take the current share price of 94. Whoops. We'll go to 94 divided by $12 EPS. I'm looking at paying off my investment in 7.83 years. Now, let's say they're able to continue buying back shares, and let's just go back over to it. We're looking at from 2018. Go to the income statement. 2018, they're sitting at 254 total shares. They bought back over 100 million shares over the last 6 years. If 5 years from now they buy back another 100 million shares, we're sitting at 150 million total shares outstanding. My pie is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Operates at 52%. I can't go into Bitcoin and see what Bitcoin's operating at. You know what I mean? So it's very tough for me to get that conviction for Bitcoin. Do I believe in crypto? I do. Can I confirm that I'm getting a fair price for the dollar I'm putting into it? No, I can't. So I'm kind of playing both sides, which isn't fair to you asking the question. But I'm playing the bull. I'm playing the bear. I know it's not fair, but that's the part of speculation. It is speculation till up until this point for me. That's my opinion. I'm just and I'm just a guy. I'm just one single guy. Drift. You know me. I'm gonna call it how I see it, and that's how I see it. Until something changes my mind on that, until I can physically see that in front of my face, there's nothing that's gonna be able to change that mindset for me. And the big problem with other cryptos, I will give Bitcoin one thing, is that they're at a locked supply right now. But then you add in the future that can be changed, and the biggest vote of that change is the miners. They hold majority vote on that. So if it came down to a scenario where that total supply can be changed and it's up to the miners, the miners that mine the Bitcoin and make money off the Bitcoin, dude, that's a scary thought. The people that make money off of mining the Bitcoin are the deciders of the supply. That is scary. That is terrifying. To me, at least, it would be. So maybe I have no clue what I'm talking about, but it just doing some foreshadowing here, looking out ahead. Maybe it doesn't happen for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Maybe it never happens at all. But I could see a scenario where that supply gets changed because the miners are in control and they want to make more money. When you add that sole factor in there, money, they want to make more money. That is a scary thought. Very scary. But I'm glad you brought up Bitcoin. Because I normally don't share that side, but since you're the only one in here listening, you're the one asking, I'm okay sharing my opinion on that. And it is an opinion. So I'm glad you brought that up, Drift. Now let's focus back in. Oh, NVAX up to 717. So a nice hold. Thank the Lord. Thank the Lord. This could easily just tank on me at any given time. Just sitting here rambling about shit that I don't even know. That's the honest truth. I don't know. I don't know, Drift. But I like cash flow. I like cash. A lot of people are like, oh, your inflation. Your inflation is going to kill your dollar. I'd rather take a 4% hit on inflation than a 50% loss on an investment. I can tell you that for a fact. Go back to 2022. Let's just go back 22. We'll use the index just for an indicator. 2022. Oh, high inflation, man. High inflation. You're gonna take a 5 or you're gonna take a 6 or 7% hit on inflation. You gotta invest your money so that you get a return to cover inflation. And boom, 27% drop. Catches a nice bid. See, you gotta cover your inflation. And boom, 23% drop. See, you gotta cover inflation. Well, now, people are saying, well, if you were able to hold through that the whole way through, you are still making out pretty good. But taking that 5% hit on inflation over the course of 2023, when the market was clear overvaluation. There was, looking back at it, oh my god, it was the most obvious thing in the world. They were printing money left and right. The Fed was clueless. They thought, oh, inflation's only going to be a temporary thing. We're going to get that 2%. We're going to get that 2%. Oh my god, it was so clear. It was clear as day, meeting up at a full extension. Man, we hit good on a short, but man, we should have freaking hammered it, Drift. We should have hammered it. Oh man, looking back, hindsight, man. Oh man, you could really do some damage if that was a real thing. You could go back in time. But I will take the hit on inflation, holding cash any day of the week over a 50% loss on an investment when the market is clearly overvalued. And I think we're getting very close to those same times right now. And I think Tesla is the golden child of it. Boom, a huge overvaluation. You're talking about over 400 million stock-based compensation quarter after quarter after quarter. I'll keep saying it till the day I die. Tesla, $70. Market, good till cancel order off of 70. 65. It's going to happen. It's not going to happen, Drift. I'm just praying. I'm praying it happens. I hate Tesla. But you add 7 consecutive quarters of decreasing margins. Every single quarter since existence of share dilution. You add in, like I said, over 400 million in stock-based compensation. It's a hoax. It's a hoax. I look at this more of a Ponzi scheme than Bitcoin. I'm not saying Bitcoin's a Ponzi scheme.
This is the biggest Ponzi scheme on the market. Tesla. Now, yes, they are bringing in profitability. They're bringing in that cash flow. But looking at this last quarter, 77 a gap EPS, trading up at 300. Looking at 700 or 77 cents of gap EPS trading up at 300. You gonna tell me Tesla's gonna outperform GM, putting up $1.90 EPS down at a tenth of the stock price? You can't tell me that. You cannot tell me that. Now, yes, with this huge influx of cars being made by all these companies, whether it's EVs, whether it's hybrids, whether it's normal gas operated vehicles, I don't even think those are made anymore. I think it's all hybrid and EVs. You can't tell me that the supply of cars is going to drop. The supply of cars is going to keep going up. Just like anything in life, you add more supply to something. If the demand isn't there, I mean, go look at the last, what is it, CPI, where it shows core inflation. Cars over the last 4 quarters is the largest dropper in inflation, along there with oil. But the production and cuts of oil uh, across the globe is coming back, and that's probably why we're seeing some pops in oil. But you can't tell me that these car manufacturers that are all competing for making as many cars as possible is, people only have one, maybe they have two, maybe they have, if you're super rich, maybe you have 5 different cars. Maybe if you're just extremely wealthy, you have 10, which is a extremely small percentage of people. I mean, everybody only needs one car. How many people are gonna be there to buy a car? A car will last me, a brand new car would last me probably 20 years. I'll take a friggin' rundown 2010 Subaru and make that last 5 years. I'll buy somebody's old car. I'm not buying no new car right now. Not when you have this huge competition of people that are of companies that are making cars, increasing the supply, and the demand doesn't cover it. I'll just wait 5-10 years and buy somebody's that just gives up on their old car, and the value for cars is not going to be there like it was when you have that influx of supply. You can go through any type of market that you want. When you have an influx of supply compared to the demand, the price, simple supply and demand, the price is going to follow that. It's going to follow that track record. No, I don't mean to keep rambling about it, Drift. Maybe you're not even there still, but that's the way I see it. So, Tesla up at 300. Huh! Huh! I was shocked to even see it get there. I was shocked to see it get over here anyways. Honestly, when it's down here at 70, I shouldn't say when it's down here. If it ever got down here at 70, I'll probably be saying, yep, back down to 25. And then when it's down at 25, I'll probably be saying, yeah, back down to 250. Yeah, I'm an ultra bear at Tesla. I'm not the ultra bear on the market. I'm an ultra bear on Tesla. That's probably why my YouTube channel isn't breaking out. I ain't talking about Tesla. I'm not buying Tesla up at 300. If I was buying Tesla up at 300, maybe my channel would be breaking out. Just put Tesla on that thumbnail. You'll do just fine. You put Tesla on that thumbnail, you're going to be just fine. NVAX up to these 721s, holding that level again. This is what I like to see. Here we go. Now the first little discredit of this bear drop right here. How about this? Confirmed higher low down to 710, higher than this wick. Maybe this is a promising first step that we're looking at here on NVAX. Here Okay, puppy. Yeah, I don't have to go to work today. We're gonna have so much fun. We are. We are. We are gonna have so much fun. Well, I don't know if you're still there or not, Drift, but it is lunchtime for me. I ran longer than I normally do. NVAX, maybe has some hope after all. I thought this was gonna be a dud, but showing at least a little discredit of this tight channel. Nice hold higher low here. Um, is this gonna be something that catches a bit up to the 25s again? If it did, I would feel very good about this 710 level holding. Let's. I'm not gonna say it's out of the woods yet until it can break this descending channel right here. So, and the neckline break up here at 760s. But we'll see. We'll see. So that's gonna call it for the day. I appreciate you tuning in, Drift. It's all love, brother. I'm gonna call it like I see it, man. So if I said something to offend the Bitcoin at all, for all I know, it rips up to 100K. I don't know. I'm not personally invested in the Bitcoin, and I do have strong beliefs for the crypto market leading into the future. I just don't know if right now is the time. So I'll leave it at that. Again, thanks for tuning in. You actually made my morning tuning in, Drift.